For as long as video games have existed, gamers have come up with various challenges as a way to breathe new life into their favourite games. From playing on the hardest difficulty, to collecting no coins in a Mario game, or the famous Nuzlocke runs in Pokemon, every game has a unique way to play if you want to attempt it. I've recently been attempting pacifist runs for games that were definitely not intended to be played with that playstyle in mind, and I want to share with you all why it's surprisingly unpredictable, and why you should also try this exhilarating challenge. But before we talk about the beauty of pacifism, we should first briefly talk about another way to play games which I think shares a fair few parallels. Gaming's most popular challenge: speedrunning. Speedrunning has been in games for a long time. Racing games have always had them, as you're constantly trying to beat the clock in time trials, and then other games started implementing a time trial feature. But even without a feature in place, people around the world kept playing their favourite games and tried to complete them in faster times. I remember when I was really young, my dad used to complete Sonic the Hedgehog in under 30 minutes for me before heading out to perform in his band each weekend. And that's a perfect example of how it's not just fun to try it yourself, but it's exhilarating to watch it too. Now we have the internet, and it's easy to share things. The speedrunning community has exploded, with almost every game having a speedrun of it. People are playing the same game over and over, day in and out, to be the best of the best, and watching someone pull off a cool trick or play to an exemplary standard is wonderful to watch. No more so when someone achieves a world record.
Yes! Dude, we did it! We did it! Oh, man! We did it!
The time and patience they've put in has finally been rewarded, and it's a beautiful moment. Speedrunning is wonderful because it's so inclusive, and there's no wonder it's as big as it is. But I feel that pacifist runs should be much bigger than they currently are. Think about your favourite game or games. Can they be beaten without killing or defeating anything? If you're thinking of a game with a boss, the answer is probably no. So instead of going pure pacifist, think about this instead. What is the absolute minimum you have to defeat or kill to win the game? That question is why pacifist runs could be considered as intricate as speedruns. When you think about pacifist runs in games, a lot of people immediately think about Undertale. Undertale is an indie gem with a buttload of charm, a killer soundtrack, a hilarious and moving story, and a gameplay mechanic that turns what you know about games on its head. Whilst the option to defeat enemies is there, if you go pure pacifist and spare every enemy and boss, that's the way to unlock a huge chunk of the game's story. Now of course, Undertale wasn't the first game to do this. Many games over the years have had achievements for completing segments with pacifism in mind. The Metal Gear Solid franchise is a series that encourages pacifist runs through stealth and the ability to defeat bosses through non-lethal means. Metal Gear Solid 3 also features that, but there's technically a cutscene kill, so it depends on if you want to go into semantics. And semantics are the exact reason why each game can have different categories. Metal Gear Solid 4, you don't kill bosses, you defeat them, but defeating could be classed as a kill in some games. Case in point, Ratchet & Clank 1. The Blagian Snagglebeast kills itself by falling into lava after you trick it into doing so. You technically do not kill it, it kills itself, but you are bringing its health bar to its minimum. You have defeated it from a game design perspective. If you didn't do that, it never would have died, so that's on you. If you punch an enemy into lava, that counts. If you dodge and they jump into the lava themselves, it doesn't. Every game will have little moments like that, and that's up to the community to decide what the rules and regulations are. But what if I emotionally kill No, let's not go there. So why should you try a pacifist run? The main reason is it's a fun way to play your favourite games again. Every game I've tried this for has offered a vastly different experience, and I'll share more of that later in the video, but I believe that competitive kindness could be as big as speedrunning if we all give it a go. Speedrunning is super fun, but it has a high bar for entry if you're trying to mimic difficult speedrun strats. Some require tutorials, and some require days or weeks of practice to get one trick right consistently. With a pacifist run, if you're playing without utilising glitches, it's easy to mimic. Just play in a slightly different style and have fun with it. Anyone can do it. Even if you accidentally kill or defeat an enemy, it doesn't matter, just make a note of it and work out your final score. That now gives you a score to beat if you want to try again, or if someone else wants to take on the challenge. I've mentioned different categories, and here's where people can make this more interesting. Let's say, for example, a game will require 20 forced kills to complete it when playing casually, but there's a speedrun strat that skips half the game and thus half the forced kills. That can be a separate category for people to try out, separating glitchless and glitch percent. Likewise, a 100% run could also be on the table to see how many you kill there. Within each category, I feel there should be two types of kill which actually makes this a competition: forced and accidental. I recently did pacifist runs of the Jak and Daxter games. Now, how do you think they went?
I'm gonna kill Praxis!
Yeah, not well. Jak 3 has 1,300 forced kills. Well, more specifically forced / unavoidable. I killed like 200 in this cave because of these little buggers getting in the way constantly. But the amount I killed can be reduced. It is possible for someone to try this and kill 199 or less, which is why I listed them as unavoidable instead of forced. It's just near impossible if you're not implementing strats to skip the mission. Oh, and I accidentally killed 300 things.
What?!
At this point, you might be thinking, how do you accidentally kill 300 things? Well, dying is a huge factor in pacifist runs. The more you die, the more you can accidentally kill an enemy. Likewise, even forced kills can become accidental. Say for example, a mission forces you to kill 50 enemies and you die after killing 49. Those 49 then become accidental because you need to kill the 50 again. Being good at the game breeds competition, and it forces you to play the game in a way you never have and the game probably isn't expecting. In Jak 3, Ashlyn joins you to take out 50 marauders, but she can actually take them all out herself given enough time and luck. In fact, they don't even register that you exist if you hide behind this tree. On the easiest difficulty of Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, some enemies just outright can't shoot you when they're a foot away and you're standing still. It was hilarious to experience. Oh man. Oh! These are just two examples of how the game freaked out when I played differently, and I've got a lot more to share at the end, so stick around for that. As much as I love praising a pacifist run, I suppose I'll have to list the negatives. Not every game can have a pacifist run. The game has to have enemies, so Fez, Tetris, Journey, etc. cannot be played this way as it would be no different. The same applies to games where you need the ability to hurt an enemy. Super Meat Boy or Celeste are huge speedrunning games, but they don't really fall under this category, unless you want to enforce a no violence run and try your best to not let any enemy get hurt, even by their own hand, but anyway. Another issue is moderation. In the case of Jak 3, it was ridiculously hard to count kills, especially in the cave. It's possible I miscounted, it's also possible I accidentally killed something off screen and didn't notice. Forcing yourself to turn around constantly to check if an enemy is still alive makes the run a lot harder without some kind of free cam or an enemy counter tool. But that said, an enemy counter tool would be really cool if implemented in certain games. Speedrunning has come a long way since pointing cameras at our TVs and looking at audio for doctored footage. I mean, you've got to start somewhere. Finally, what counts as a kill? I've been saying kill or defeat throughout the video because you need to look at this from a game design perspective rather than a real world perspective. Sometimes it is a defeat. Setting rules for what does and doesn't count will have to vary from game to game, and will be incredibly specific if you're trying to do this competitively. But to take away the negativity aspect, as I've said, playing this way is super fun to try, and I bet there's a game out there, maybe it's obscure, maybe it's not, that people have never realised is a perfect pacifist game. There's no way to know unless we all play games in this way. The barrier for entry is low, so give it a go. I believe speedrunning could also collaborate with pacifist runs in a different way than the existing low percent runs of games. If a game has a guaranteed minimum amount of forced kills, then speedrunners could attempt to set the best time with that route, and any accidental defeats ends the run. I think it's possible that pacifist runs could also help the speedrunning community. In terms of glitch runs, there are still probably going to be forced kills because there are missions, tasks, or levels you can't skip, but pacifist runners might eventually find a way around that in the hope of reducing their score. That skip might ultimately help make speedruns faster in the process. It's not a guarantee, but you never know. When playing Spyro 2 in Spyro Reignited Trilogy, to complete the game I needed to collect some orbs which required forced kills. The last quarter of the game actually became strategy on working out which missions would yield the fewest kills. One of which was defeating 3 lamp thieves. I learned that the thief actually gets stuck on an enemy you don't kill, so it made it easier to get him without accidentally killing other enemies in the process. It turns out this sadly isn't a speedrun strat, as speedrunners use rocks to get them from a distance and save time, but the point remains, I doubt many people or maybe even anyone knew that this was a thing, and discoveries like this could lead to something in the future. What I love most about Pacifist runs is how every game is genuinely so different by playing this way. Levels that were tough before are much harder now. Tasks became impossible without a tricky workaround. Multiple categories give you a different experience, and different types of games give you a completely different experience. Playing Pokemon whilst avoiding trainers makes the game a lot more intense. It's really scary just passing people, and your Pokemon are super low leveled by the end. I recommend giving it a go. Not to mention the random glitches I found whilst playing the games because I was playing a slightly different way, it's great. Whilst a 2D platformer is the same route, just learning precision for certain level design, a game like Hyper Light Drifter forces you into battle in certain parts of the game, but you may not necessarily need to go there as parts of the game are open-ended. Learning the game and the route you can take will ultimately reduce your final score, and that becomes an exciting new challenge. At least I think so. I've talked a lot about pacifist runs with passion because I genuinely believe this could be a big thing, and I want it to be a big thing, but I'm not the only one who agrees. You don't have to just take my word for it, as I spoke to the wonderful and at times masochistic Game Champ 3000 earlier on to hear her thoughts on pacifist runs and challenges as a whole.
There's like a mystery to it. Like, you don't know if it's possible most of the time. That's like where half the fun is. Just like when you make progress, it's a legitimate achievement. It's like normally in a game, the developer plans on you winning. There's no guarantee here. You could fail at any moment, completely not your own fault, just because the game is impossible. It's that question mark of not knowing if it's possible. Because you get to route it out as you're doing it. There's always surprises. When trying to beat Breath of the Wild without climbing, it was really easy and really simple for 99% of the game, except for the literal climbing tutorial at the beginning. That was undoubtedly the best part of the entire run, because there's literally just, you're stuck in a cave and there's a ledge, and the game tells you to climb up it. And it took like an hour or two, but it was like the most satisfying thing ever when we actually reached the top. Because like, you know, it was a puzzle without a solution. It was not created by anybody, it was just there and we solved it anyway. But it doesn't just apply to like the hard ones, even simple ones that are really stupid, like, let's see, Sonic 3 and Knuckles without pressing right. Like, the game changes into a puzzle platformer, essentially. Like, it's an entirely different genre. It's as if I discovered a new video game that somebody had already made, but nobody noticed yet.
What about pacifist runs is it you enjoy, exactly?
I didn't have an answer to this in my notes.
That is okay. I did add that, so sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I added that, like, this one I was like, oh, I didn't actually ask if you enjoy. That's kind of a big one. We gotta make this interview a challenge run, so I've thrown in an extra question.
It's like a bullet hell. That is essentially what a pacifist run turns games into. Everything is trying to kill you, and you can't do anything about it. You've just got to get from point A to point B. So it just naturally creates a lot of really intense moments. There's one particular moment that stood out to me that I loved. It was in the Yoshi's Island one, Yoshi's Island Pacifist. I had a really tough time figuring out the specific rules of that. It doesn't really define death for you very well, like most games would. Like, usually an enemy dies and that's it. In Yoshi's Island, it's a little wibbly-wobbly. Whether or not an enemy's dead or not, like, you have to check if they respawn. And so I had sort of a really wiggly hand approach to whether or not an enemy died. Sometimes I trust the game's opinion, that being whether or not the enemy respawns or not. Other times I just had to wing it myself. So there was this moment, like pretty late into the game, I'm like in this really narrow tunnel, and there's a shy guy on the other side of the tunnel, but there's a boulder in between us. The only way to get through is to push the boulder, which will inevitably roll into the shy guy and kill it. And I realized there was a solution to this. All I had to do was murder the shy guy. So here's the thing. When you throw an egg at an enemy, they go into a death spiral, and they will explode if they collide with a wall or any other enemies or anything. But they're not dead yet when they're in the death spiral. They're not doomed to die. You can actually lick them up while they're in the death spiral. So according to my rules, as long as somebody you've murdered doesn't explode as a result of the murder, then it's okay. You're fine. It wasn't a real murder.
I mean, that is some great semantics.
It was the most beautiful semantics I've ever done. I feel like most games with combat probably are gonna be awesome pacifist. Like, I was watching you streaming the Spyro games. You know, I never even thought to do pacifist of those. It seems like that would be really simple because they're just collectathons. But it ended up being a lot more interesting than I thought at first glance.
Do you find it's as fun to watch pacifist runs as much as it is to take part in them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love watching people play video games. It's all the fun of, you know, the mystery of it, of how are you going to solve it, except you get to see somebody else's solutions. Even if it's one you've already done yourself before, a lot of the time people will find completely different solutions to it. Sometimes they'll be really obvious solutions that you'll hate yourself for never finding. Other times there'll be really ridiculously obtuse solutions that make no sense but somehow work. If anybody's interested in challenge runs, they're watching people doing challenge runs on YouTube and they think they're really cool, my suggestion is find a game you really love and figure out a challenge run for it. I think that's the best way to get into challenge runs, because nobody knows what your favorite game is but you. Nobody knows what challenge run is going to be more interesting in that to you than you.
Thank you so much for talking to me, Game Champ. You worded things in ways I never could, with beauty and wonder. But we're not done just yet. Before we end the video, we've got a lot of funny or cool highlights from the various pacifist runs I and my friends did. If that doesn't interest you, then thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you sticking around thus far. But if you are intrigued, then buckle up. Things are about to get wild. Oh, and there will be some strong language at points. You have been warned. We start with the first Jak and Daxter. In the Lost Precursor City, you can make the Rising Eco Challenge much simpler by just avoiding the switch. As a result, the eco doesn't rise, so this brutal challenge became a breeze. Not too sure what I did here, but Flup Flup flew into the air after breaking a crate. Stay away. That'll be... Oh, fucking hell!
Whoa.
Oh my god!
What? Nice skip.
You need 72 power cells to reach the final level. You can get a total of 84 power cells up until that point in the game without killing anything, with exception to Claw and the one lurker at the end of the mountain pass, as there's no way to avoid killing them glitchless. Then there are 34 kills in Gull and Maya's Citadel, and 14 in the final battle, Gull and Maya counting as 2 of them, for a total of 50 forced kills. When playing Spyro Year of the Dragon in Spyro Reignited Trilogy, I unintentionally killed an unkillable enemy in my pacifist run. What happens if I...
You free him? We can try.
Oh no! He's dead! Does that count as accidental? Did I just murder an unmurderable enemy in my pacifist run? You better believe it. That is exactly what I did.
Only you could do something like that.
Amazing. If I go back, is he... He's still gone. No, he's dead. he's dead. That was beautiful. We'll come back to some more Spyro moments a little later. Back in 2018, I did my first pacifist run of Ratchet & Clank. It didn't have the rules that are formed now because it was originally intended to be a new fun challenge for a charity stream. The Blargian Snagglebeast boss was a conversation on whether it should be counted as a kill that lasted over 2 hours. Half of us believed it was the fault of the beast, and half of us believed we goaded it into dying. Ultimately, we decided on counting it as a kill as it works under video game design logic, and that logic is how we base all of our future runs. Back then, we worked under different rules, so my final count will be inaccurate. If you set a score with the current rules we have now, it will be the first. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I attempted Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and genuinely had a great time attempting this. But the third mission was hell, as my squad was getting completely overwhelmed. It turns out they infinitely spawn if you go back far enough, but they kept getting gunned down really quickly. As you can probably see by the pile of corpses at the door, one of my men dragged a monitor across the room who I named Monty and decided to bring with me, and... well... The stairs might be a bit tricky, but I'll give it a go. Yeah, this was intentional. They wanted... Monty! No! The furthest you can go without killing is near the end of Mission 4, where the game wants you to pick up the Javelin rocket launcher to destroy some tanks. As far as I'm aware, there's no way around this. I did try to make Call of Duty a platformer to avoid it, but to no avail. Maybe someone will figure it out one day. Next up, we move on to Jak 2. Here's me getting scared. Right, let's go. Where's the turret? The turret's on the other side. How did you get up here? Where the fuck did you come from? And in that same section, I encountered a glitch where the bridge collapsed under me. Veins throbbing out of my face. Oh, fuck me! Did the blaster even get that? Oh! Killing a civilian would be classed as an accidental kill, so I tried to fly up for a very long time. But then we learned that civilians actually dive out of the way and never get hit. Also, crashes like this do not count as a kill. That is not on me. Fuck me!
You know what?
The terrible
I mean,
accident.
that's not your kill, surely.
I think I did kill him.
I know,
His
he killed
life was
himself.
like
I don't know. Finally for Jak 2, it doesn't really relate to pacifism, but if you shoot the Yakals with a Crimson Cruiser when the metal heads are attacking the city, a ton of Crimson Guards come to attack the Yakals. It's so weird.
Look, 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 here they come.
What the hell?
The cow doesn't give a shit.
Look, they're all coming,
There's
they're all
so
coming.
many of them! Oh my god! Oh my god, they're inside it!
Soldiers attack the yak.
We finished with a forced count of 529 and 150 accidental, 679 overall. I suppose at this point I should mention that I never save abuse. If I accidentally kill an enemy, I don't just load the save and try again, I keep it going, because I messed up and that's my score. That said, there is one exception. I said earlier, I wonder if there's a game out there that will actually be beatable pure pacifist, even though it's not supposed to be. I actually found one. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. If you use Friend or Summon Magic cards, you can clear all of Sora's story without Sora killing a single enemy. As for Riku's story, Riku's a bad boy, he doesn't conform to these rules. So what challenges arose? Well, the first problem is friend cards only spawn if you hit an enemy, so the first few fights rely on you hitting enemies enough to not kill them and have Donald or Goofy show up. After you get Simba in the 4th room of the game, it becomes a little easier, as you don't have to rely on attacking with a key, but it's certainly no picnic, and it takes a long time. It turns out the game always wants you to have at least one Keyblade card. That means you're at risk of attacking an enemy when you don't want to. I elected to have a 0 card as it can stop a boss's slights. Monstro has a room where you have to kill a horde of shadows in quick succession, and with a deck filled with Simba, this was extremely difficult. Simba can dish out the damage, but you also have to wait around and watch that meter go down. You do keep the experience gained without consequence though, so it is actually a really great grinding spot. It either wins right now or it doesn't. Oh my god, yes! When it came time to face Larxene for the first time, I won with literally 1 HP. Fucking work! Fucking... Holy shit! Once you reach floor 7, Moogle rooms will give you cloud cards, and that makes it much easier to win. And honestly, whilst it wasn't easy from then on, having Cloud in your party makes it much simpler, and the rest was, yeah, it was actually fairly straightforward. This is a perfect pacifist game if you're just doing Sora's story, so no kills. I did accidentally kill 2 and I reloaded to make sure it was perfectly pacifist, but semantics! It's doable! Yeah! My friend Tommo streamed Dishonored 2 Pacifist. In the level The Royal Conservatory, there's a man who detects you when you stab a door, but doesn't do anything logical about it. Instead, he throws a grenade on his side of the door and blows himself up. We did it a couple of times and it seems to be consistent. We don't know why this is, but it is pretty funny. In Dishonored 1 you have to knock out 8 enemies, and in Dishonored 2 you have to knock out 4. One of the hardest parts of Jak 3 is surprisingly within the first hour. The volcano with these jumping metal heads is atrociously difficult without killing any of them. I spent over 30 minutes unintentionally killing far too many of them. I wouldn't mind so much if I had actually succeeded in the attempt that I killed them. The KG battleships have incredibly high defenses, but the Crimson Guards can actually destroy them. I advise doing a majority of the damage because, wow, it will never end otherwise, but they can finish it. The Peacemaker's second form is helpful in some scenarios, as it will stop enemies attacking for long periods of time, but weaker enemies will be killed when they hit the ground, which I discovered the hard way. If you have Light Jak, slowing down time is really effective in getting past brutal segments. Finally, we had to get past this barrier without killing anything. It took far too long, but we found a way across. It's stuff like this which is what makes these runs special. There were 1,302 forced/unavoidable kills, and 313 accidental kills, so 1,615 overall. I joined my friend David as he attempted a pacifist run of the PS1 version of Toy Story 2, a platformer I highly recommend trying out, but we discovered that you could only collect 49 out of the 50 coins required to get a token in the level elevator hop. 14 of the 63 coins in the level are from the enemies and boss. There's even a random coin underneath the boss room, but as far as we're aware, it's completely inaccessible. We had no idea that this would be the case when we started the run, but it gets a lot more interesting than that. At least, I think it's interesting. On the PS1 version of the game, you need to get 40 out of 50 tokens to unlock the final boss. It's only 30 on the Dreamcast version. 10 of these tokens are mini-boss tokens, so as long as you can get the rest of the tokens without defeating any enemies, you're fine to complete the run with minimal kills. As mentioned, we needed 1 coin in Elevator Hop, so we took out the boss in that level, as it gave us a coin, as well as the boss token to give us leeway of 1 token later on. It turns out there was only 1 other level where we couldn't get enough coins due to the amount of enemies. The game worked out so perfectly that we only needed to defeat 1 extra enemy. If 2 levels didn't give us the coins we needed, we would have needed to defeat another boss. If Elevator Hop had less than 49 coins, we would have needed to defeat more enemies. Isn't that cool to discover? We had no idea this kind of thing would happen, and we only found out about it because we attempted the Pacifist run. I love learning about tiny details about my favourite games, and hopefully you'll get to experience that too if you try your own Pacifist runs. The final forced kill count is 18, I presume it's 17 on Dreamcast. In Spyro the Dragon, every gem counted as enemies contained so many throughout the game. I managed to get into the second speedway, Night Flight, which yielded 300 gems, by getting an enemy to fire the cannon at me as I'm dying. Without that, I probably wouldn't have been able to get enough gems to get to the final world. In the Magic Crafter's homeworld, I got stuck in the rising floor because I weaved to avoid killing an enemy. It turns out playing slightly different here results in the game freaking out in the most beautiful way.
If I heard it in time with it...
Oh no, this is a problem. I'm soft-locked. I'm soft-locked. I'm actually soft-locked. I can't jump. Oh, fuck.
I'm gonna get sick. Oh my god.
A tiny problem.
He's cemented.
I don't think there is a way out. I've still got the supercharge. In Misty Bog, a hog magically jumped up on a wall and scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I can't believe— oh fuck that! What? How did the fuck fucking what?
Pumbot!
And there are only 8 forced kills in Spyro 1. 5 egg thieves to get past magic crafters, the 2 key thieves in the Nasty Nork fight, and then Nasty Nork himself. I only had 2 accidental kills on top of that. In Hyper Light Drifter, there's a room that forces you to kill 10 enemies before the wall lowers, allowing you to progress. It turns out, by watching a speedrunner, we discovered this section can be completely skipped by a bush letting you walk through it slightly to the right of the door. Those 10 we thought were forced then became accidental. This game also becomes ridiculously hectic, and that's saying something, because Hyper Light Drifter doesn't mess around. The wolf chase sequence is usually challenging, but you can take out the enemies one or a couple at a time. Here they all chase you at once, and it's made harder by the need to slash through bushes without accidentally killing enemies. We haven't finished the game yet, so we don't have a count for you. In Spyro 2, every orb counts. By the time I had played every level of the game, I had only 29 of the 40 orbs needed to get into the final fight. The run became pure strategy to work out which orbs would yield the fewest kills. But the way to get orbs wasn't always easy. The first level, Glimmer, was actually surprisingly challenging. You need to kill 10 enemies to activate the flight power to attempt to make the lantern shine. An ordinarily simple task. I got around that by jumping on the outside of the walls of the middle building. It was really satisfying to find a workaround. In Horror Coast, I couldn't charge up my supercharged speed, as you usually have to kill enemies, so I had to get on top of the buildings in a way the game wasn't expecting. Then I had to navigate it at a much faster speed. It took longer than I'd like to admit, but it was genuinely really fun to discover. There were 54 forced kills and 5 accidental in the end. It might be possible for the forced kill count to be reduced, so I'd love to see others attempt the run for themselves and do better. I was doing this on the Reignited trilogy and it was glitchless, so take that into account when doing it yourself. Back to Reignited Year of the Dragon, and the 2D Sheila section in Desert Ruins became much harder when I couldn't kill enemies. I think I died around 10 times getting through this. It's genuinely one of the hardest parts of the game, really surprisingly difficult. The end of the game had a similar problem to Spyro 2 as well, where I was missing 12 of the 100 eggs I needed, so I had to work out which eggs to go for. Thankfully, there is a lot that's just a single egg thief, or strangely enough in Cloud Spires, there's one enemy who's stopping you from picking up, even though you can walk up to it. My final count was 50 forced kills and 18 accidental. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time had some really tricky segments due to pacifism. One of them is this enemy in Snow Way Out. It's doable, but just barely. It took about 5 minutes of trying different things. In Out for Launch, the final corridor gauntlet, which is already classed as being tough, is made so much worse because you can't even touch an enemy. Touching them will kill them. It requires precision, and as a result has become one of my favourite rooms in the game. It is super fun to navigate. There were 37 forced, 26 accidental kills or defeats, with a total of 63 overall in my run. I'd love to see people try and beat this or any of the other runs I've tried, and I'll add this as a reminder, all of these were glitchless runs, so you'll have to go glitchless if you want to try and beat my score. But with that said, I think that's that. Thank you very much to Game Champ for agreeing to be in the video. It was wonderful to talk to you. Thank you to Emil, David, Tommo and Chezzy for trying some pacifist runs for this video. Thank you to Emil for the thumbnail as well. Huge thanks to GDQ and everything they do. I included a lot of their speedruns, but they do wonderful things for great causes. So go and follow them if you haven't already. You'll discover a lot of awesome speedrunners along the way. Thank you to my friends Emil, Lbags, Super, Laura, Lito, David, Tommo, Harper and Nicole for helping with the scripting, pacing and focal points of the video. I wanted this video to be just right and it wouldn't be as good without all of you, so thank you so much. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd very much appreciate it if you left a like, subscribed and shared the video around so more people can hear about the wonders of pacifism. I also have a Twitch, a Twitter and a Patreon if you'd like to support me and the channel. Are you planning on attempting a pacifist run? If you decide to record or stream it, please send it my way. I'd love to check it out at some point. But I guess I'll leave you with the knowledge that in this video, through the footage I used, I killed or defeated 153 enemies. I'm really sorry. I'll try and do a better job next time. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Take care, bye bye.